The Architect's Reckoning, Natalia's Vengeance. Before we dive into this ultimate saga of betrayal, justice, and rebirth, hit the like button and subscribe. Dark Tribe. We track down the truth, no matter the cost. Part 1. The Birth of Fury. The golden cage shatters. The question sliced through the frantic silence. Are you coming or staying with me all night? Natalia felt something inside her tear. The feminine voice on the phone was smooth, confident, as if she held not the slightest doubt that Alejandro was with her. The pain of a powerful contraction doubled Natalia over, but it was nothing compared to the blunt force of that casual phrase. "Who are you?" Natalia demanded, her voice shaky but determined to hold firm. There was a brief silence. Then, the woman let out a mocking giggle. "Oh, you truly don't know? How terribly sad for you." The condescending tone hurt more than the betrayal itself. Before Natalia could say another word, the call cut off. Alejandro didn't answer when Natalia called back, not on the third attempt, nor the fifth. She felt another cramp in her abdomen, this one stronger. Leaning against the cold wall, she breathed frantically. Her legs trembled. Not now, she muttered. But her body offered no reprieve. 30 minutes later, she was at St. Jude's Hospital. Her friend, Mariana, had driven her at breakneck speed, asking non-stop for Alejandro. "Where is that bastard? Why isn't he here?" Natalia couldn't reply. Her mind was fixed on the phone call, on that mocking voice, and on how her husband had abandoned her at this pivotal moment. 2 hours later, exhausted and drenched in sweat on the hospital bed, Natalia saw Alejandro's name flash on the screen. Her heart pounded with cold fury. "Where are you?" she answered. Her Herboinbwapwa, my love. I'm sorry. I fell asleep at the hotel. There was an issue with the flight. I just saw your calls. He paused, calculating his words. The bastard was lying. She could hear it in his forced tone of concern. I'm heading there as soon as I can. Don't bother, Natalia spat. He's born already. Alejandro fell silent. Long. Heavy. My love, I'm so sorry. Natalia tightened her lips, fighting the urge to surrender to tears. She wouldn't break down. Not in front of him. Stay where you are, Alejandro. You don't need to come anymore. The following silence was dense. Natalia, please. Don't call me love. She snapped, rage filling her chest. I don't want to fight with you, Natalia. He sighed, as if he were the victim. Fight? Is that what you think this is? A fight? You have no idea what I know. Explain what, Alejandro? That the flight was delayed, that you fell asleep in a hotel, or that you were with a woman who told me to my own face to let you stay with her all night? Alejandro was silent. Natalia knew instantly. He couldn't deny it. The lie had collapsed in seconds, and that realization hurt more than anything else. I'm coming over, Alejandro finally let out. I don't want you here, she replied, unwavering. Don't set foot in this room. Fine, he said, his voice colder than she expected. We'll talk when you're calmer. And he hung up. Natalia looked at the screen. When you're calmer, as if her justified rage were mere hysteria. Mariana looked at her with sorrow. What are you going to do? Natalia's fatigue vanished, replaced by a cold resolve. I'm going to find out everything. I need the truth. Part 2. The forensic turn. The web of lies. The early morning hours were endless. Natalia was unable to sleep. She ignored Alejandro's frantic texts. Let me see you. I don't want this to end. Can we talk at home? I want to see how far his lie goes, she told Mariana. 2 days later, back in her impeccably tidy apartment, Natalia found her opportunity. Alejandro's phone was still in the nightstand drawer, the password unchanged, a beginner's mistake. She went straight to the archived chats. One was labeled with a heart emoji. She opened it. Love, last night was incredible. I miss you. When you're with her, tell me if you can call, even for a few minutes. It wasn't just an affair. It was a long-term relationship. She scrolled. Photos, hotel reservations, flights. He had built a parallel life. Natalia felt the rage boil, but she didn't scream. She didn't break anything. She meticulously took screenshots, saved the evidence, and waited. Now, the goal wasn't just to confront him. It was to destroy his lie with undeniable truth. 2 days after that, Alejandro returned. He entered, confident, in his perfectly ironed suit. "My love," he started. "You took your time," Natalia said, not looking up. He tried the old lines. "I didn't want to pressure you. I thought you needed time to calm down." She laughed, a dry sound. "Time for what? For you to crawl back here after you were done with her?" "That's not true," he insisted. "I checked your phone last night," she stated flatly. Alejandro froze. "You were not absent, Alejandro. You were with another woman." She opened her phone and scrolled through the screenshots. Alejandro read the texts, the hotel reservations. His arrogance cracked. But instead of apologizing, he sighed in annoyance. "You weren't supposed to find out this way." Natalia felt a chill. "Is that all you have to say? It's not about love, it's about respect." "I paid for this house," he hissed, grabbing for a weak advantage. "Are you going to charge me for it now?" She countered, fury rising. "I was in a hospital, alone, giving birth to our son, while you were in a hotel bed with your lover. There is no calm for this. No explanation is valid." "What about my son?" he challenged, betting she wouldn't deny him access. "You are his father, but that doesn't give you the right to destroy me and then walk in here like nothing happened. Get out." He left, defeated. Natalia knew the war was just beginning. Part 3. The architect's vengeance, criminal exposure, alone. Natalia dove into his digital life. The lover's name, Lorena Ferrofino, actress, Mexico. She found photos, a striking woman in a red dress, Alejandro with his hand on her waist, at a private event 6 months ago. He hadn't even tried to be discreet. Natalia then moved to the financial data. She found a shell corporation, Aztlan Investments. Payments, international transfers, money laundering. Alejandro hadn't just cheated. He was a serious criminal. Mariana arrived, horrified. "Discovering your husband is an infidel is one thing. This is another. He's not scared because he feels untouchable," Natalia interrupted. "I'm going to sink him." The next morning, she went to Alejandro's office building. The receptionist let slip that he had meetings at the San Angel Hotel, a hotel reserved in the screenshots. The infidelity was known in his professional life. Natalia found more. Records of a luxury penthouse in Polanco, bought under the shell company's name. The Love Nest. She drove there. The penthouse lights were on. On the balcony, Lorena laughed, wrapping her arms around Alejandro's neck. Natalia stood on the sidewalk, absorbing the undeniable, clear image. No excuses. No lies. She knew she couldn't turn back. Part 4. The public collapse. Natalia put on a stunning red dress, firm lipstick, and a gaze of steel. The dress was a declaration of war. Alejandro's gala, the celebration of his latest real estate project, surrounded by investors and politicians, was in less than an hour. She went, copies of the Aztlan Investments documents tucked into her clutch. Alejandro saw her enter. His expression went from surprise to shock to discomfort. "Natalia, I didn't know you were coming." "You didn't want me to, but I found out anyway," she said, pushing past him. "Why? Are you afraid everyone here will know the truth?" The murmurs began. Alejandro desperately tried to maintain control. "Don't do this." Natalia took out her phone and wirelessly projected the documents onto the main screen. In seconds, illegal transactions, the shell companies, money laundering, and corruption were displayed for the entire elite crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen," Natalia announced, her voice clear and firm, "allow me to introduce the real Alejandro Cáceres. Your money is invested in a massive fraud. He uses these events to clean his image while conducting dirty business with money that doesn't belong to him." The flashes of the cameras exploded. Investors and politicians backed away from Alejandro as if he were contaminated. The truth was out. Financial police would be arriving soon. Natalia turned and walked out. She didn't need to stay to watch him crumble. It was done. Part 5. The Final Reckoning and Redemption. Alejandro's empire was destroyed. Lorena, the mistress, disappeared, cleaning out nearly $1 million from the accounts he had given her. The firm's confidence was shattered. His career was over. He showed up at Natalia's door, broken and defeated. "Why did you do this? You've destroyed me." "No, Alejandro," Natalia responded, calm and unyielding. "You destroyed yourself. What do you want? Money? I'll give you anything. The money you have left is worthless to me. This wasn't revenge. It was justice." Alejandro, for the first time, looked afraid. He accepted his defeat and left. Natalia didn't feel relief, but freedom. The months flew by. Alejandro's trial was a media spectacle. The final verdict: 5 years in prison for fraud and money laundering. Natalia saw the transmission. Alejandro, the once imposing man, now finished. Natalia's life began to flourish. Her artisan jewelry brand, Ibargüen Jewels, grew into a symbol of resilience. She was no longer just a hobbyist. She was a successful entrepreneur. One afternoon, Natalia stood before what was once Alejandro's Polanco penthouse. It had been seized, auctioned, and transformed into a shelter for women facing domestic violence and abandonment. Alejandro's corrupt past had been converted into a new beginning for others, and that, more than anything, finally gave her peace. Part 6. The absolute end of the past. 5 years later, Alejandro was released. He requested a meeting with Natalia to see his son. She agreed, meeting him in a discreet cafe. He looked older, thinner, marked by prison. His arrogance was gone, replaced by visible shame. "I want to know him," he murmured, looking at his son. Playing nearby. "Why now?" Natalia asked coldly. "Because I have nothing left. I need him. He is not your redemption, Alejandro. You failed him. I don't seek redemption. I just want to be his father. You don't know what it meant for me to raise him alone. You don't know what it meant for him to grow up without a father. You already did your damage." He accepted his defeat. "I understand. I won't bother you again." Natalia watched him walk away. No relief, no guilt. Only the absolute certainty that Alejandro Cáceres meant nothing in her life anymore. Later, at an art gallery opening, she briefly saw Alejandro across the room. He looked sober, human. Their eyes met. He offered a slight nod, a silent acknowledgement that she had won. She nodded back, then turned and walked away. Alejandro was part of her past, and she no longer lived there. Her final meeting with him came years later, just before he left the country forever. "I'm leaving the country," he confessed. "I understand everything now. I wasted my life blaming you, but I ruined myself." Natalia listened, cold and firm. "I don't forgive you. You don't deserve it." He accepted it. He left, choosing self-exile. Natalia returned to her new jewelry studio. Her life was no longer a story of betrayal. It was a story of victory, and she was its sole owner. The final victory was the knowledge that her son was happy, safe, and loved by a mother who had chosen integrity over comfort. The epic of Natalia Ibargüen is complete. She transformed betrayal into triumph, becoming the architect of her own justice. If this story of resilience and empowerment moved you, please like, share, and subscribe. The Architect's Reckoning, Natalia's Vengeance, Extended Epilogue. The Price of Peace and the Unseen Hand. The final layers are peeled back. Natalia finds peace. But who was the unseen player that helped her win the war? Hit like and subscribe. The Unquantifiable Gain. A Son's Reflection. Another decade passed. The trauma of the past was now a quiet backdrop to a magnificent present. Natalia was in her late 40s, her hair showing streaks of silver that only added to her commanding presence. Ibarguen Jewels was a nationally recognized luxury brand, famous not just for its designs, but for its ethical sourcing and commitment to supporting women's shelters. Her son, Santiago, now a young man preparing for university, was her masterpiece. He was compassionate, grounded, and possessed his mother's fierce intelligence, but none of the cold ambition of his absent father. One evening, Santiago found Natalia in her workshop, tracing a new design. "Mom," he began, sitting on a stool. "My advisor asked me about my father, about his name and his work." Natalia stopped drawing. She had always been honest with Santiago, speaking of Alejandro with factual neutrality. Never hate. "What did you tell him?" "I told him the truth, that my father made bad choices, and that his story ended with him. But I also told him, my mother is the only legacy I need." Natalia's eyes welled up. Her revenge was complete not in Alejandro's ruin, but in her son's clarity and moral compass. "I have a question, Mom. A real one." Santiago's voice dropped. "When you told me the story about the legal fight, you mentioned that your lawyer received a strange tip-off about a key bank account, the one that really proved the money laundering. You said the tip came from someone anonymous. Who was the ghost that helped you win? The ghost in the system." Natalia put her pencil down. This was the one secret she had kept, even from Mariana. "His name was Javier," she said softly. "He was Alejandro's financial deputy, a brilliant accountant, loyal to Alejandro, but a quiet man of profound ethics. He was the one who was forced to set up the Aztlan accounts." She stood and walked to the wall, pulling down a framed black and white photograph of her younger self and Alejandro. The last one before the infidelity. "When I was giving birth alone, Alejandro was with his lover, but Javier was there too, not physically. He was the one who answered my calls repeatedly, the one who heard my fear. He couldn't help me then. Javier was also a father. He was terrified that Alejandro's scheme would be uncovered, and that he, Javier, would be arrested, leaving his own children without a father. He was caught between loyalty and morality. After I exposed the fraud at the gala, Javier was the one who ensured that the digital evidence, the final, undeniable proof, was not erased. He sent the anonymous tip about the secret account directly to my lawyer, making sure Alejandro couldn't manipulate the system one last time. He risked everything, Santiago. Not for me, but for his own soul and his family. He left the company the next day, disappeared with his family, and started a new life, clean. He chose presence for his children over comfort for himself. Santiago looked at the framed photo, then at his mother. "So, Dad's undoing was sealed not by your anger, Mom, but by the morality of a good man who had the courage to choose his family." "Exactly," Natalia confirmed. "Your father's arrogance convinced him he was untouchable. He failed to realize that the honest people he exploited would eventually be the ones to take him down. My victory was Javier's silent courage." The final act of forgiveness, 2 years later, just before Santiago left for university, Natalia made a pilgrimage. She drove out of the city to a small, dignified prison facility where Alejandro was serving his final year. She didn't go for him. She went for her own soul. She waited in the sterile visitation room. Alejandro walked in, looking older, smaller, his gaze habitually lowered. "Natalia, I didn't think you would come." "I didn't come for you," she said, calm and firm. I came because Santiago is leaving for university soon. I needed to ensure that no ghost of you would linger in his future. Alejandro nodded slowly. I accepted my consequence long ago. I told Santiago all he needed to know. I wish him well. She looked at the defeated man. She saw the ambition that had warped him, the arrogance that had blinded him. But she no longer felt hate, only a quiet, profound pity. I don't hate you anymore, Alejandro, she said, her voice clear. My heart is clean of you. I forgave you years ago, not for your sake, but for my own peace. The silence you left was deafening, but it taught me how to hear my own strength. She stood up. Goodbye, Alejandro. Live your new life and find some measure of peace. She walked out, not waiting for his reply. The final chains of the past were broken. She returned to her car, where Santiago was waiting. Did you find the closure you needed, Mom? Santiago asked. Natalia smiled, a genuine, joyful smile that reached her eyes. I found my peace, my love. It was there all along. Now let's go home. We have a lot of living to do. The story of Natalia Ibargüen was the triumph of active integrity over passive destruction. She built her empire not on money, but on the quiet, unshakable foundation of her own truth. The journey is finally complete. If Javier's silent heroism resonated with you, and Natalia's final act of self-forgiveness was moving, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for following this incredible saga. Tuyet voi. Tôi rất vui vì bạn đã hoàn toàn bị cuốn hút bởi câu chuyện của Natalia và muốn khám phá thêm. Mặc dù câu chuyện đã có một kết thúc mang tính triết lý sâu sắc, tôi hiểu mong muốn tiếp tục nhìn thấy tương lai. Để làm phong phú thêm cái kết và mở ra thành tựu cuối cùng của Natalia, tôi sẽ viết một phần epilogue cuối cùng, tập trung vào chương mới trong đời sống cá nhân của cô với Elias Thorne và việc cô ấy hướng dẫn thế hệ tiếp theo tại Shelter. Đây là phần tiếp theo, mở rộng tuyệt đối cho câu chuyện The Architect's Reckoning, Natalia's Vengeance, bằng tiếng Anh, đảm bảo giữ nguyên sự kịch tính và cảm xúc sâu sắc. The Architect's Reckoning, Natalia's Vengeance, Ultimate Final Chapter, The Harvest of Presence, The Grand Final Curtain Call. Natalia embraces a second chance at love, and her legacy is passed to the next generation. Join the final celebration. Hit like and subscribe. The second chapter, A Love Built on Truth. Natalia's decision to accept the risk of connection with Dr. Elias Thorne at Heathrow was the pivot point of her personal life. Their courtship was slow, deliberate, and built on the foundation of radical honesty. Elias, the reserved neurosurgeon, had been instantly captivated by her strength and professional clarity. Natalia, the fiercely independent architect, was disarmed by his unwavering presence and genuine empathy. They had no secrets. Ilara told him everything. The golden cage, Marcus's fraud, the seizure of his assets, and the hard-won fight for justice. Elias listened, not with judgment or pity, but with profound respect. You didn't just survive, Ilara, Elias had told her one night on a quiet London street. You engineered your own salvation. That is the greatest power I have ever witnessed. Elias, in turn, offered stability, not the superficial stability of wealth, but the predictable, reliable presence of a good man. He seamlessly integrated into her life, not trying to replace the dad persona that Santiago had grown up without, but becoming the supportive male figure that both mother and son needed. Their love was quiet, strong, and built on shared values, integrity, hard work, and the absolute prioritization of family. The final legacy, cultivating new architects. Natalia's ultimate triumph was manifested not in her luxury brand's profits, but in the Women's Resilience Center, the facility housed in Alejandro's former penthouse. She actively mentored the women there, providing seed money and business training. She taught them that their biggest asset was not their past pain, but their present determination. One afternoon, a young woman named Sophia, who had fled an abusive marriage, tearfully presented Natalia with a business plan for a small online artisan cooperative. "I don't know if I can do this, Ms. Ibarguen," Sophia confessed. "I feel like I'm still waiting for someone to rescue me." Natalia, the woman who had learned to rescue herself, placed a hand gently on Sophia's shoulder. "No one is coming, Sophia, and that is your greatest freedom. You are the architect of your life. Start small. Be precise. Build your structure with truth and integrity, because when you build it yourself, no one can take it away." Sophia looked at her mentor, the woman in the elegant suit, the Subo who had once been a broken, weeping wife. She saw not a distant success story, but a living testament to resilience. The perfect integration. On her 50th birthday, Natalia sat in her beautiful Notting Hill garden, surrounded by the people who mattered. Santiago, now a confident graduate student, toasted his mother. Elias, standing beside Natalia, raised his glass. He hadn't bought her diamonds. He had given her a small, hand-built cedar greenhouse for her growing collection of orchids, a symbol of patience and nurturing. To Natalia, Elias said, his voice warm, "The architect of justice, the foundation of our family, and the most beautifully resilient soul I know. Thank you for teaching me that the best things in life are not predictable, but worth the risk of presence." Natalia smiled, her eyes meeting Elias's. She looked at Santiago, at her thriving business, at the foundation she had built from the ashes of betrayal. She had everything: a profound purpose, a supportive partner, and a son who knew his true value. Her story was complete. It was a saga of pain, vengeance, and profound triumph, sealed not with the fall of a man, but with the quiet, lasting rise of a woman who finally chose to build her life on unconditional truth and visible love. The final chapter is closed. Thank you for following Natalia's incredible journey. If her story inspires you, please give this final segment a like and share. Tuyệt vời. Tôi rất vui vì bạn đã hoàn toàn bị cuốn hút bởi câu chuyện của Natalia và muốn tiếp tục hành trình của cô ấy. Mặc dù câu chuyện đã có một kết thúc viên mãn, tôi hiểu mong muốn được thấy cuộc sống tiếp diễn của cô ấy. The Architect's Reckoning, Natalia's Vengeance, the Eternal Promise, the Unbreakable Structure, the Absolute Final Scene. After years of self-discovery, Natalia and Elias solidify their bond in a wedding built on truth, not illusion. It like for this final vow, the final blueprint, a wedding of substance. 3 years after their chance meeting at Heathrow, Natalia and Elias decided to marry. Their wedding was the antithesis of the opulent hollow ceremony Natalia had shared with Marcus. It was held in Clara's art studio, a space filled with light, truth, and creativity. Only close family and a few trusted friends, like Mariana, were present. The decorations were simple: orchids from Elias's greenhouse, and beautiful, meaningful illustrations of neurons and structural blueprints, symbols of their united lives. Natalia, wearing a simple and elegant gown designed by one of her mentored artisans, walked down the aisle with her son, Santiago, on her arm. Santiago, now a confident university student, proudly handed his mother away to Elias. Elias, the neurosurgeon who valued presence above all, looked at Natalia not with passionate urgency, but with profound, quiet certainty. His vows were a masterpiece of honesty. Elara, Natalia, I promise to be the unwavering presence in your life. I promise to never confuse ambition with value, and never mistake silence for peace. I know your strength was forged in fire, and I swear to God, I will spend the rest of my days protecting the serenity you have so bravely built. I do not ask you to forget your past, only to allow me to build a future so real that your past will finally know its place." Natalia, her eyes shining with tears of genuine joy, responded, "Elias, I married a lie once. Today, I marry my truth. I promise you my whole, repaired heart, a devotion built on integrity, and the enduring promise that I will never need you, but I will always, always choose you. Thank you for showing me that second chances are not just for the redeemed, but for the strong." The full circle. An act of grace. After the ceremony, during the reception, Natalia slipped away to the side to breathe. Mariana found her there. "You look beautiful, my friend," Mariana said, touching her shoulder. "Truly happy." "I am," Natalia confirmed. "It took you a long time to get here. You had to destroy a kingdom to build a home." Natalia smiled faintly. "I did. But I finally understood that the final act of revenge wasn't in his destruction. It was in the grace of my own construction." She paused, then revealed one last thing. "I did one final thing, Mariana. A few months ago, I ensured that a comfortable annuity was anonymously established for Alejandro's mother. She was an innocent party in his downfall and lost everything. She did not deserve to be erased." Mariana looked at her, stunned. "After everything? Why?" "Because the fight is over, Mariana. And the moment the fight ends, the architect must choose what to build. I chose to build a legacy based on justice, not lingering malice. That is the true victory that Alejandro can never take away." The enduring promise. As the night fell, Julian led Natalia onto the dance floor. The music was a classic, gentle waltz. "What are you thinking about?" Julian asked softly, resting his chin on her hair. "I'm thinking about the silence," Natalia confessed. "The terrifying silence I once felt in that golden cage, and the beautiful, comforting silence I feel now, here, with you." "That is the sound of presence, my love," Julian whispered. "The sound of a promise kept." They danced, two souls who had found each other across continents, and through the crucible of broken promises, finally united. Natalia, the architect of her own destiny, had built a life more valuable than any diamond and more secure than any vault. A life built on the unshakable foundation of her own truth, integrity, and love. The journey of Natalia Ibarguen is now complete. We hope this final act of grace and enduring love has left you with a sense of profound peace. Thank you for following this incredible saga to its ultimate conclusion.